Hi everyone, and welcome to week 14 in environmental science. This week there's one thing that I want to point out that's a little bit different. There's a risk assessment survey for you to fill out, and that is due by the end of the day on Wednesday. So this is something that I'm asking everyone to do, and basically you're going to look at these 10 activities and you're going to rank them 1 through 10. So 1 would be the riskiest and 10 would be the least risky. So if I think that fire and smoke is the riskiest, I would give that a 1. And if I think that electrocution is the least, I would give it a 10. You should use each number 1 through 10 just once when you complete this. So this is something that needs to be done by Wednesday because you are going to use the class data that are collected through this survey in this week's lab. So I wanted to give that an early due date just to make sure that everybody has the information they need to do when they do their lab. And we'll get to the lab in just a second. So the week 14 content is about non-renewable energy sources. So here are the learning objectives and terms to know. And then the rest of the tabs have some tools to help you get to know this content, which is the content of chapter 15 in your textbook. We also have a discussion that is focused on the use of natural gas, which is an example of a non-renewable energy source, as a bridge fuel. So that's like a bridge that we use because it's available now, and we have the technology in order to use that bridge to transition into a zero carbon economy. So that's this concept. I have a bunch of different resources here, and I'm sure you can find others to inform yourself about this idea, and then follow these directions to create an initial post that you contribute by Wednesday at the end of the day, and then be sure to respond to your peers by the end of the day on Saturday. Our laboratory activity this week is focused on nuclear energy. A lot of students will say that this is a renewable energy, but I want to be really clear that it's not renewable because the source that's used for the fuel, uranium, is finite. So this is a non-renewable energy. I think people get confused because it is really clean burning with no emissions of carbon. But because we're using a mined resource, uranium, as the fuel, it's considered non-renewable. So we're going to get to know nuclear energy. The first part includes listening to this podcast with some background information about renewable energy. And then this is where you're going to refer back to the data that you input for the survey. And then you're going to develop a class average ranking and a range for the class data set. So I'm going to send everybody some kind of compiled graph or just some numbers to help you complete this data table by including everybody's opinion about the riskiness of these different factors. So that's how the survey information is going to feed into this week's lab. You're going to follow these instructions to look at the relative safety of some of these non-renewable energy sources, and then here's some more information about nuclear energy. For part 2, you're going to run a simulation of a nuclear power plant. So you're going to be the operator. You are going to move the control rods and see if you can meet energy demand when it's high and then decrease your output when it's low. And the simulation is going to give you a score, and we're going to see who in the class has the best record as a nuclear power plant operator. When you're done with part 1 and part 2, please answer these questions, and then you can return back to the assignment page to turn in your risk table, that we looked at, and then the answers to the questions. You'll get 2 points out of 10 just for completing that survey that's right at the top of this week's module on time. So that's due Wednesday by the end of the day. As usual, we have a practice quiz and a graded quiz. And the graded quiz is due when your lab is also due, and that's Saturday at the end of the day. Please let me know if you have any questions. Thanks. Have a great week.